Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. You cannot hear me because we were not talking, so we just started the session. Hopefully you can hear the audio now. Welcome to our webinar, A Language in Context, Grammar and Lexis Reflection and Discovery. This is a secondary teacher session. This is session 2, so we covered session 1 in the morning, and this is session 2. Just to make sure you're in the right webinar, this webinar is for teachers and it's for secondary level teachers. So we are covering Mega Goal 1, Mega Goal 3, and Mega Goal 5. I hope that's enough. We are covering the first semester course books. Like I said, Mega Goal 1, 3, and 5. This is a teacher session. This is session 2. And yeah, I guess we can begin. Before I proceed, just quick sound check. Let me know in the chat box if you can hear me. Or there is also a hand icon on the right side of your screen, just below your name. Please click on the hand icon if you can hear my voice. I can hear you. Excellent. Lots of hands up. Perfect. Moving on to your moderators, myself, Sarish, along with my colleagues, Minerva, Nikos, Medini, Nasir. We're in the background to help you out with any questions you have, or if you're facing any trouble during the webinar, please feel free to troubleshoot to us and we can answer this for you. Trainer for today is, as always, Danai, who is very patient with us and back every day for us. Thank you. You're a wonderful trainer, Danai, doing this for us. She's a teacher trainer. Thank you. She's a teacher trainer, content developer, and also an author. She's done several training workshops in the past for supervisors and teachers in Saudi Arabia. Also co-authored the Saudi edition. So very grateful to have her here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you, Danai. You're most welcome. Danai usually refers to a handout during this session, during most of her sessions. And you can download the handout. This handout is for session 2. It has 4 handouts in it. So once you click on the link that I've just dropped in the chat box, you can download all 4 handouts. She might not refer to all 4 of them, so don't worry, owing to time. But this is just for you to take away, so you can keep that with you. In case you have missed the first session, there are handouts for the first session as well. So let me just drop both of these together so you have them in with you in case for people who have missed the first session for today. I'll quickly cover some housekeeping, some popular questions that come in for most of our webinars. Once you log into the webinar, you will have to connect to the audio to be able to hear us. If you're still not able to connect to the audio, I have dropped the details about how you can connect to the audio in the chat box. You can also use the call-in function to connect with us. If you're facing any connectivity issues with the audio, although, I think you can hear, okay, sound is clear. Thank you, Ali. And then the second one is we recommend you close it down any high networking apps such as Netflix, YouTube, any gaming platform, as this will affect your bandwidth during the webinar. And then the most popular question about the certificate is you will get a certificate for each session that you attended. You will get this next week, hopefully, and we are sending it together for elementary, intermediate, and secondary. So if you've attended any of the sessions in the past, or if your colleagues have attended and are looking for the session for the certificate, please let them know that they will receive it. They just have to be patient because we're trying to sort this out with the joining links and everything. I will come to that question about checking the attendance in a minute. Q&A, we will cover this at the end of the session. Usually we cover the Q&A towards the after an hour. So we will cover this at 2 p.m. If you have to go for prayers or lunch, please feel free to log off. That's fine. For those of you who want to stay back to attend the Q&A, please feel free to. But it's up to you if you want to stay back for the Q&A or not. If you need to log in, it's absolutely all right. There is a Q&A box on the right side and also the chat box. The Q&A box is located on the right side of the corner of your screen, and we encourage you to ask any questions. We can try to cover this as we go along. Otherwise, we will cover this in the Q&A session at the end, like I said. You also have the chat box for any comments or anything that you can engage with the presenter. Also on the right side, I just want to address that the chat box is enabled for everyone. So you can write in the chat box. The only difference is, I think that might cause you a confusion, is you cannot see the comments that are coming in the chat box. That is because of privacy. You can only see your comments. So it's enabled for everyone. It's not hidden. You are able to view it. You just need to click on it and start asking. I mean, the question. To start typing. Sorry. And the last slide from me is, you must have noticed you're all muted, so you will not be able to unmute yourself, but you can engage with the presenter in this webinar through the Q&A or the chat box. Also, you are marked automatically present by the system. You don't need to mark your attendance anywhere. So you don't have to mark your present anywhere. There is no such thing. Once you log in the webinar, you are already marked present. So we know what time you log in and what time you log off. Don't worry about marking your attendance anywhere. You must have also seen that you can only see yourself on the right side. So you can see only your name. And you're not in a hidden list. You're not the only one attending this webinar. There are 758 people who have joined up till now. So you're not the only one who you're not in the hidden list for us. No, you are not able to see the other participants who are in the session with you right now. We are 758. It's because of privacy and GDPR. The same reason why you cannot see the chat. Like a lot of people have said, I cannot see the chat of my colleagues. You can't see this information because of privacy and GDPR. So whatever comments that your colleagues are giving out, you cannot read them. But Danai is really kind and read it, and she reads these out for you so you can follow them along and feel like you're part of the session. So hopefully that's all right. You didn't get the tomorrow's link. I'm just coming to that. You will receive a link for each webinar that you register. So if you've registered for the webinar that's tomorrow, you will receive the link. You will have to register for these webinars to receive the link in order to attend them. I only say please use the right link because if you're using today's link, which is November 17th, to log in the webinar tomorrow, that's not going to work because the event is expired. You just need to, a good tip is just watch out the correct timing of the webinar and the date. So you can check that tomorrow is November 18th. It's a 10 a.m. webinar in the morning. I need to use the link that's for the 10 a.m. webinar. The link is not going to come up automatically in your email. I repeat, you will have to register in order to receive the link. And the place that you register is the landing page, the page that the invite that you receive from your administrator. You will see there are 5 sessions there mentioned for teachers. And you can then click on how you can register all of them. You either click all of them and register 5 different links, or you register one by one and you can receive the links in your inbox. And what else should I need to cover? Like I said, there are different links to join each session. They're not the same. All are different. So just please use the link that you receive in your email. Every link is unique, so avoid using your colleague's link to join the session because this is going to create a confusion in the certificates. A lot of you have asked why your name is, for example, appearing as Serish when it is Danai who's attending. But that's because you are using your colleague's account to get into the webinar. I hope that covers everything for today's session. Just give me a minute. It's clear. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Really helps that when you say this, that it's clear. Because we just want to help you. You don't, getting comments about, I can't register for tomorrow. So there are 1,000 seats. If the seats are, if they're occupied, if we have maximum capacity, then you will not be able to register for the webinar. If you've already registered, please don't register again. There is no need. Just use the link that you've received already. Excellent. I guess it's time to pass over to Danai now. And if you have any questions for me, just drop it for me in the chat box now, and I can answer you. Thank you so much. Over to you, Danai. You are now the presenter.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know how many of you were here in the morning, early in the morning, and how many of you have just joined. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining. As we discussed this morning, what I would like to do is begin with what you think, what you know. Now, you know you see grammar and you all kind of get interested. Why? What is grammar? Okay. Structure of language, yes? A place to practice. Practice what? Communication. Form a correct sentence, okay? So if I language rules, the heart of the language, correct structure, okay? What is lexis? What is a word? What is vocabulary? Okay, accuracy, grammatical accuracy, yes. Syntax, right? Correct form of a sentence, okay? But you haven't said anything about lexis. What is lexis? Okay, word, okay? And then I've just mentioned reflection and recovery, which came up in the morning. It's not a very simple thing to go through, but I would like us to do a couple of things together as teachers. Okay, first of all, can you have a correct sentence that doesn't have a lot of meaning? Yes, you can. So it's not really communication is not reliant on grammar only. All right. Okay, just to put things into perspective. Okay. Now, please bear with me. Let's go through this together. I need you to think. Okay. Is this, in a sense, will help us see some issues from a lexical as well as a grammatical viewpoint. Both grammar and lexis vocabulary are systems, yeah? Okay, so grammar, so are other things as well. It's not just grammar. If you know about grammar, it's not going to help you communicate. All right, we need to redress that. So look at these examples. What's the meaning of the word bank, of the word work in these examples? When you say he works at a bank, what do you mean? That his job is what? It's about his job. Okay, he is a cashier. So, okay. Banking. All right, it's about the job he does. So that's his job. All right, what about this next one? This combination doesn't work. Doesn't function. Doesn't Yeah, do well doesn't fit. Doesn't match. Is not effective. Okay, doesn't do the job. Isn't good. Good. Some things simple things are sometimes, the best way of doing things. Not good. It doesn't work. Okay. It's useless. Yes. All right, let's look at the third one. We have been trying to work out how this device functions. Find out. Yes, very good. To find out. Okay. Does it have anything to do with job? Figure out. Yes. Doesn't have anything to do with job, right? It doesn't have anything to do with function. No, it doesn't. Okay. So the meaning changes completely. What makes the work in the third sentence? We've been trying to work out how this device works. What really helps it get that meaning? Work out, yeah? Work out. It's work out. This is why we go for phrases. Yes, the context is very important, but we go for phrases, we go for chunks, okay? Not single words. I think you're beginning to see this, that it's just work is not going to work. Okay, the next one, you can try to work out the meaning of the words from context, is similar to the previous one. Work out the meaning of the words from context is more than guess. Yes, it's find out. So use clues, figure out exactly, using the context. Okay, let's look at the next one. He's very fit. He works out regularly and eats healthy food. Exercises, very good. He trains, yes. And it's work out again. So how do you know it's not work out, figure out, but it's work out, exercise, train? The context, thank you. What gives you the context? What did you use as clues? Fit. Good. How about the next one? His work is very demanding. His job. Okay. Is there a difference between I work and my work as a word? There is a difference. It's exactly the same word. We say, I work, and we talk about my, yes, I know you know that one is a noun and the other one is a verb, but what makes it a noun or a verb? How it's used. How it's used. In context. Thank you. This is a working document. You're welcome to make suggestions. It's a working document. Yes, we use as a modifier. What's the meaning? Interactive, related to work, part of a project. Okay, yes. That's a different thing. This is a working document. A working document is a type of document to tell people how to do things, okay? Working parents have a hard time. Is that working the same as the previous working? No, thank you. It's not. What am I trying to get to here? You can't really even tell if what part of speech something is and what form it is if it's not in context. You can't really tell what the meaning is if it's not in context. A word has many meanings. A word can serve different roles in sentences. This is one of the reasons that we don't want to have translated word lists. In other words, asking students to memorize bilingual lists really doesn't help. And the business of, no, words can't be taught in isolation under any circumstances. The word work, as you can see, in combination, collocating with other words, has many collocations. There are many meanings. There are more meanings than the ones you can see here. Something about explain the meaning of the word work in two. Was that the question? I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. But basically, no bilingual list of words, no isolated words. Okay, that's a compound word. Can we? Really, the labels are really not very helpful for our learners. I don't think we should waste too long on that. Okay, collocations are words that go together. Okay, but the meaning of the sentence changes depending on which context it is used in. So one, no words in isolation. Secondly, from a grammatical point of view, we can't really tell if the word work is being used as a verb, as a noun, what is being used as, unless it is in an example in context. Okay? So much for memorizing things like that. Not useful. Yes, it depends on the context. Okay, can you find the handout on context, if you have it? Yes? Okay. So when we speak or write something, we communicate. Communication and the language we use to convey our message, feelings, etc., only have meaning when it is understood in context. Context is a situation, real or imaginary, in which we can identify certain features. One very simple way of doing that is basically go for existential questions, question words like who, where, why, what, how, and actually if you add when, that would complete everything. Okay, who the speaker and writer are, what the relationship is. Would you speak to a friend the same way as you might speak to an older person or the director of the school or the manager, or would you? No. Okay. Because it's not appropriate, because it depends on who you're addressing. Okay, the setting, the place, where, yes, degrees of formality. But where something is taking place, where the communication is taking place. Remember that being formal all the time is not safe. If you speak too formally to a friend, what will your friend think? Yes, encourage students to speak and practice the language in context. Give them roles. Proud? Okay, we might have a cultural sort of business there. They all think you're an uptight person. Yes, possibly. That there's something wrong with you, that you're angry at your friend. Exactly. So it's a degrees of formality. Appropriacy is important. So when we talk about grammar, vocabulary, and all that, we talk about accuracy, okay? We talk about systems and we talk about accuracy. But when we look at how we address people, and if you like, the functional language that you look at, we talk about appropriacy. What is appropriate, depending on the role, on the status of the person, of the people who are interacting. And the topic, what you're talking about, is also going to make a difference. How you're communicating, okay? Whether the language you're using is spoken. Which point about appropriacy? Again, it's if you want to participate, yes, fine. You may, yes, of course you can write. Okay, so how is whether the language is spoken or written, and the style, the register that you're using. Again, whether you're being, what degree of formality, what choice of vocabulary you have. It goes. It's more than just expressions, isn't it? I mean, if you're talking to a friend, you might say, "Come on, man," or "Hey, guys," or say, "Really." But if you're talking to a superior, if someone who is in an official position, take it easy, yes, all that. You wouldn't say, "Hey, man," would you? You would be in trouble if you did. Okay? So all that, again, is dependent on context. Okay? So style register is choice of vocabulary, hello, bro, yes. Choice of vocabulary, grammatical structure, pronunciation, intonation, everything changes. Okay? And that all is dependent on context. So it can't really, language doesn't have meaning unless you have a context, okay? So this is a blank one, and the task is if you can think of a different context and so on yourself. I'm afraid we won't have the time to do this as a full workshop, but you can use this in your own time if you like to practice. And now, should learners be allowed to make mistakes? Yes, thank you. Yes, good. We all agree, of course. Yes, yes. Okay. Do you have to correct a single mistake? No, no. Okay. No, depends on what you're doing at the given moment. If you have just presented something new and you want everybody to practice it, repeat it, controlled practice, then yes, you might correct, but it's better to get peer correction, to get other students to correct. But if you want the students to do a role play, if you want them to discuss something, and the message goes through, you think they are communicating but making some grammar mistakes, no, you don't correct, you don't interrupt, okay, because your aim is different there. You're going for fluency, you're going for communication. So if they can convey the message, then you don't interrupt. What you can do, however, as a teacher, yes, if you do it, if you interrupt, they will stop participating. You can make notes. You can make a note of what you hear. And quite honestly, this is part of what we do to assess learning. So instead of assessing students, basically, we assess learning because we want to see what is needed, what has developed, and so on. And correct, yes, after finishing the task, yes, absolutely. After finishing the task, or even in the following, in a future session, if you deal with some mistakes, that's delayed correction, okay? So that's very good. So you can get everybody to think about those. Why? Okay. Is peer correction effective? When you ask students to actually listen to each other? Yes, I think so. Yes. All right. But what can we do to encourage learners to listen to each other? Yes, group them together, give them a very a meaningful task. Yeah. Don't tell them that if they listen, they'll learn the language better and so on, blah, 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 blah. They will listen to that and still kind of switch on and off as things go. But, and the other thing not to do, and we'll be repeating that in tomorrow's sessions as well, one thing not to do is not echo. In other words, don't repeat everything that a student says for the rest of the class. Don't repeat an answer for everyone else in class, because if you keep on repeating and echoing things, the students have no reason to listen to each other because they know you're going to repeat it. So there you go. There is no reason to listen. Yes, if it's discussion and they're interested, they will. Okay. Why are students unwilling to answer a general question? A general question that you address to the whole class. Repeating is boring. Yes, sometimes it has to be done. What's your favorite? What's your favorite dish? Because anxious. Why? Afraid of mistakes. No reward. Because it sounds like testing when you ask a question like that and you throw it at everybody. So what I would say instead is put the question up on the board or put it on the screen, have it ready on the screen, 2-3 questions, ask the students to look at the questions and think about them for a minute, think about possible answers, and then invite different people to answer. So if you're online, call out, call out names, okay? Nominate people. Can we help learners discover language? Can learners notice how and why forms change? What can we do to help? Yes, we can. We'll see possibilities. Let's have a look at possibilities. Echoing students is like everything a student says, or you ask questions, every answer that is offered by a student, every answer that is contributed by students, you repeat. Don't do that because it takes up time. It takes up a lot of time. It increases your speaking time, not the student's speaking time. Okay? And the students don't listen to each other because they know you're going to say it yourself. So instead of doing that, when somebody answers, ask someone else if they heard the answer, not as a test. Okay. Some students, something in Arabic. I didn't catch that comment, I'm afraid. Okay. So, can we have a look at another handout that you have, which is grammar, form, and meaning? I believe. Let me check. That's probably handout 1. Yes. It's handout 1 of this session, of session 2. Okay? All right, the first couple of things we've worked on together through the slides. What I want you to have a look at is 3. Okay? Because you have mentioned sort of traditional, please, are you receiving my messages? Can you please repeat? I can't catch all your messages. I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can. Yes, but okay. What I want you to think about. Refuse to open the mic. Well, you'll have to negotiate that and set it up with them. As to teach them correct pronunciation. Yes, fine. That's okay. Of course, you'll have to do that. If it's pronunciation, I'm not saying you will never correct. I'm not saying you will never repeat anything. I'm talking about the tendency that a lot of us have to sort of automatically repeat what students say, what individual students say. Okay, now transformations. These are classic, yeah, in passive voice, active and passive voice. What do students really actually practice when you ask them to do this kind of exercise? Do they practice form or meaning? Or both? Or none of them? Neither? Both? Well, okay, give me a minute then. The first one that some of you have already kind of transformed, and you said, the door has been opened. Can you think of a possible context when somebody might say that? The door has been opened? No. It's a very unnatural sentence. There's no reason to do it in passive. If anything, you say, well, academic writing is something else though, isn't it? We're talking about writing, we're not talking about speaking. Okay, so this is again context. We need to know what we're addressing exactly. She teaches us English. Now, we say the door is open, basically. She teaches us English. If you transform it, what will you say? We are taught English by her. English is taught to us by her. Okay. Thank you. She's our English teacher. It's a lot more natural. She's my teacher. Yes, fine. So this is the point I'm trying to make. Think about what you're doing when you think about grammar. It's not a very good idea to waste time on exercises that will not help learners develop reasonable, meaningful, natural kind of ways, skills in language use. Okay? And think about whether it is useful for them to do it or not. Also, please remember there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between written and spoken language. Yes, you help them make the right structure, and you will have exercises that will practice the form. I'm not saying that you won't do that. Of course you will. But let's not give students the false impression that they can use passives when they speak to say, I am taught English by her, because that sounds very funny. On the other hand, if you say, a ring road, my sound is choppy. Sorry about that. Okay. On the other hand, if you say, a ring road will be built to avoid the town center, or the town center will be avoided after the ring road is built, or the town center will be avoided when a ring road is built, okay, that's acceptable, because that's something you will say. But one, and I'm not going to go into details, one of the things, for example, that is very important in the use of passives in English is our theme, its discourse, what we are focusing on. If we're talking about traffic in the center and the plans about building ring roads to reduce traffic in the center and so on and so forth. And it could be spoken actually or written in this particular case. So it's best not to overgeneralize. Don't take an example and give them a rule across the board that will apply to everything. This is why, again, I know I keep on repeating myself, and I will keep on repeating myself. Okay. This is why when you deal with this part of the material in your course book, okay, listen and discuss, just use it. Use what you have here to practice. Yes. No, it doesn't mean that you should teach them what's up instead of how are you. You would say how are you to maybe an older person or somebody that you don't know very well, has a certain position, and so on. But what would you say to a friend? You would say, what's up to a friend, wouldn't you? Okay? So we're talking about natural language. Now, how can you feel more confident about that? Well, quite honestly, expose yourselves to the language as it's being used. Watch films, watch videos, listen, okay? And you'll get all sorts of ideas. Listen to podcasts, okay? Read things. It doesn't have to be grammar. But what I'm trying to say is grammar is part of the language. Yes, of course it is. It's important when we write. Yes, it is, because when we write, we want to be accurate. Analyzing. Well, what I would say is don't overanalyze. Don't over-explain. Okay? Grammar can be noticed within the context. Absolutely. Okay? So basically, if you look in this unit, basically, one of the items is, and I forgot what it is. I'm getting the unit, sorry. Okay. So you can see both and, not only, also, either, neither, independent clauses, and so on. Okay. Why? Because those are the ones that appear here. Yeah, conjunctions. Think in English. Okay. This business of thinking in English. We don't only think in words, in languages. We also think in images. We think in all kinds of ways. And we might think differently. Different people might think differently. So it's not a matter of thinking in English. If you try to use English in your lessons throughout, stop translating. Take advantage of the fact that your students are exposed to English through the internet, are exposed to English through just global practice, and so on and so forth, then it's going to get a lot better. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for the development of adequate competency in the language. And when it comes to tests, and it comes to specific tasks that you're worried about final tests, okay, then you tell them that they also need to be careful with particular forms, with particular things in the test. So you separate it. But if you want to teach them or help them learn the language and become more independent and more skilled in learning it, and be able to use it in order to communicate through speaking or writing, then you need to deal with language in context. Grammar is there. What I'm trying to say is, let's not isolate grammar and take it out. Yes, give them a chance to talk. Of course, give them a chance to talk. Okay, it's a global language. We're getting into sort of second language. Well, now everybody's referring to it as second language, but really we're talking about a global medium here. No, anyone answer my questions? I haven't caught you, the questions. Sorry, I can't see all the questions. For final 20 I can't get into those kind of details there. I would need to see the test, gauge what's happening, what the focus is, and so on and so forth. But how to start your lesson in listening skill? Well, this is how you start, through listening. Or actually, this one is through reading, isn't it? You don't have to begin with listening. You could ask them to do what they can through this page. For example, in this page, after you get them to brainstorm, about what favorite films, why they're favorite, which genres, what kind of movies they like. Okay, yes, all that. Genres is comedy, adventure, animation. Can you please bear with me before scanning? Before scanning. Okay. So you do the lead-in activity, the first stage, which is very important to activate what they know about films, the TV, movies, and so on and so forth. And yes, you can ask them to look at the pictures and say what they associate the pictures with, what they see. Remember, they're a bit older. They're older here. We're talking about young adults, so it might bring something to mind or not. But what is good here that you can use is the names of the movies, the names of the TV films are not given. Yes. So basically, there is a very good task to go for. You need to have a look through this, read about the plot and the characters of the movie, and try to identify which one it is. And if we divide them, okay. Yes, I would divide them for this one. So you could divide them in, oops. So you've got 5. Do you want to divide them into 5 groups or give them to different people? Or you could go for 2 groups and have one overlap. So group A would have 1, 2, 3, and group B would have 3, 4, 5. Yes, thank you. They enjoyed this movie. Yes, absolutely. This unit is enjoyable. So this is a very realistic kind of task that they can really get interested in. That's what you do. You don't stop and basically destroy this completely and destroy, yes, channels to get them to work in groups. Oh, thank you, because everyone says you can't through Teams. Yes, channels, okay? So I know everybody thinks about exams, but you know what? We are the worst. Teachers think about exams all the time. What I'm trying to say is, be very honest with your learners. If you're trying to get them to develop their skills in the language, that will also help them with the tests. But when it comes to doing a bit of test preparation before the test, you can get them to do more exercises, more tasks that have questions like the questions that are included in their test, so that they practice the task type. Okay? Let them talk. Yes, of course, let them talk. But what we're talking about here is to give them the language that they need to learn and to use. Okay, something about rules. No, get them to ask them to try and discover the rules themselves. But it's a waste of time to get them to memorize rules. What are they going to do with the rule? To what extent do the rules help people communicate? Give them confidence? Does that apply to the rules? Does the exam ask them to write rules? Let them breathe language. Yes, use language with some meaning. The grammar is there. This is what I'm trying to show you. That grammar is very useful. Yes, it's the structure of the language. Yes, but the language exists if we want to say something through it. Okay, so if you have been looking at that handout, can you please look at task 6? Memorize sentences. I don't know. I mean, I was one of those students who hated memorization, so I'm very sensitive on that issue. Although sometimes we memorize things almost automatically if we're exposed to them. And anyway, the way memory works and associations work differs. Okay, so 6, true or false. Language arises from a need for communication. True. Language exists without grammar, but we need grammar to be able to communicate more effectively and efficiently. But if we haven't got words and we only have grammar, we can't communicate. The situation in which we find ourselves determines our choice of language. Yes. Our psychological standpoint determines our choice of language. If you're angry, if you're upset, if somebody is shy, yes. Our choice of language depends on whom we're addressing. Yes, with many S's, yes. This is all grammar. We use language to refer to people, events, and things in the real world. Yes. We're going to say no. To make sense of language, we need to know which people, events, and things in the real world are being referred to. Hello? Yes. Okay, example here. If you start, if you give your students a text that explains how experiments are conducted to develop a vaccine. Sorry, it's the ongoing talk now. How much of it will they be able to understand? Maybe 10%, because they have heard so much about it. Yes, they will understand some of it. Some will understand more if they've been interested and reading things, listening to things, following the whole thing. So it's dependent really on that, on the background more than anything. But if, for example, you give your students a text or you get them listen to somebody presenting the characteristics of a creature that they have never seen in anywhere, even in a picture or anywhere else. It's totally foreign. Will they be able to follow? Probably not. But the pictures, this is why we use pictures. Yes, pictures would help. Okay. We rely heavily on our knowledge of the world and not only linguistic knowledge to interpret the language we hear around us. Absolutely true. I'm just reminding you, because with all the worry about the test and about the grades and about this and that and the other, and am I doing the right job? And everyone says grammar, 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 because this is what everyone has been doing. We forget that. We forget that understanding and communication is not only a matter of language, and it's certainly not about grammar rules. It is about developing grammar awareness and being able to, yes, exactly. It's a whole process. So all I'm trying to say to you is you have some material here that can help you do that and can help you make things a little more meaningful. Why not take advantage of it? Okay. Now, I don't know if you'll be interested in that. Okay. No, time never helps. Time is not helping us now, because we would need really in a full-time training course, this would take a number of sessions probably. Why there is too much grammar? Because this is what you've been doing, this is what people have been asking. It is a core system, but it's not, it doesn't cover, it doesn't cater for all the needs of the language. Of course it's there. It's really the structure that we build upon. But as one of you said earlier, a lot of people develop that awareness when they're in a second language situation without necessarily going through grammar rules. Okay? How do children in Saudi Arabia learn Arabic? Does anyone give them grammar rules? How do they work out the rules of the language? Think about it. Well, you should. This is what I'm trying to say. But you should also work through it very systematically. You present it in context. You get your students to notice it, find it, okay? Think about what they're reading or what they're listening to, why it's being used that way. You give them the summary of the forms, okay? The rule, they can work out themselves, try and elicit the rule from them as much as possible. And then they can see the description in their books if they want to compare. And when you use the material this way, you will find that you have enough time. Please. Yes, of course they learn naturally in the mother tongue, but what I'm saying is that it's a human ability, if you like. It's a human ability. Some people are better at it than others. If you think about learner factors and multiple intelligences, yes, we're not all the same and all that. But it can be done. And what we're trying to do, what are we trying to do? Yes, thank you. Someone says, I hate grammar. Good. I don't hate grammar because I see it as syntax. I see it as it's used in chunks of language that serve some purpose. Yes, language acquisition device if you want. Yes, listening is really the most important skill. I agree. Listening is very, very important. Phonology, grammar, discourse, vocabulary are the systems of the language. You can't remove them. There's no way. But they are the systems of the language. But the language makes sense in context. Yes, it is part of the whole. Okay. Right. Okay, this, some of you might have seen in the previous hour. Do you remember what the grammar item was here? It's about advertising. That's why you'll have known Chomsky. It's quite amazing. Okay. Yeah, if you remember, it's comparative. Yeah? The passive and comparative and superlative. Okay? Because those are the things that are used more frequently in advertising. This is why this topic was chosen here. Okay? So again, we go for a context for a topic that can support the grammar, not the other way around. Yes, absolutely. It is important, but that's the way it works. Okay. Yes, so grammar in context, absolutely. Now, I know we haven't got time to go through everything in great detail, but you have one more handout. Yes, listening and reading are very important, are the most important. I take them very seriously as well with my students. It's the skills that I want them to develop first. Okay. You want to discuss with your students why you have the same grammar in a particular unit? What, to give them the rationale? To tell them that this way they're exposed to different uses of it in written language, spoken language, and they can see how it's used and they have more opportunities to use it themselves in order to practice. Yes, good, very good. Yes, absolutely. We're talking about young adults, so anything you can share with them as to why you're doing certain things is a very good idea, always. Okay, now in handout 2 of session 2, these are notes, yes, definitely to make them convinced. These are notes about how to develop, it's about accuracy, it's about grammar mostly, how to move on from receptive tasks to productive tasks, okay, from controlled to free, open-ended activities. One of the things that often happens, and teachers get disappointed and so do students, is they don't go systematically from being exposed to the language, identifying the form in use, identifying meaning, okay, the concept of the grammar item that you're dealing with, practicing it through more controlled or semi-controlled activities, and then doing an open-ended activity. Some people can't hear me. Okay, on the second page of that handout, you'll see 3 stages in managing activities: setting up, monitoring, feedback, okay? And then you have more notes on giving instructions. Okay, I am sorry. Some people are complaining about the fact that they can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I've also dropped the link how you can connect to the audio, because if you're in the webinar, you'll have to connect. I've dropped the instructions.
Okay, great. Okay, so about giving instructions, that is also major, very important. Now, these things we're going to discuss in greater detail throughout our sessions tomorrow, and mostly, not mostly, and on the last session on Thursday. But they're there for you to look at if you like. Okay. And I'm not going to let you go for 2 minutes if you will allow me to. I know some people need to go. Teaching vocabulary. Now, we haven't got the time. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me time. I'm not going to keep you very long. I know you have to run to classes, you have to do things. Okay, I'm not going to go through everything here. Do try and go through it yourselves as a worksheet, as a think sheet, if you like, on your own. But what I would like you to look at is, okay, can you look at task D on page 2, right? Thank you. Everybody's telling me to go ahead. Thank you so much. You have this material. You have the handout. Okay. So can you look at these phrasal verbs? Look at the way they are grouped. Which way of grouping them do you think is more memorable, useful and memorable? Can you see? It's handout 3, session 2, okay? Page 2, task D. Oh, I see. I thought school was not over yet. Okay, collocations. Yes, they are collocations. All right. For one thing is, please do remember that when we deal with phrasal verbs, unfortunately, they appear in grammar, but actually, they are lexical. It's word grammar more than the other grammar. So how would you group them? The first group is put down, put across. Second one, come up, get up, put up, set up, end up. Okay, I will try to show the page. Sorry. Word family, yes, it is possible. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes, can see your screen.
Yeah? Okay.
Secondary handout, handout 3?
Yes. Oh, finally it's worked. Okay. I wish I'd been able to do this from the start. Okay, now if you look at D here, yeah, look at the way they're grouped. Come up, get up, put up, set up, end up, call up, look up, get through, hold on, hang up. Which one makes more sense? This is according to the verb, yeah? This is the preposition, the second part. And what's this? How do you think this has been grouped? I can't see the chat now. Serish, can you help me? Are there any answers?
Maybe phrase words, maybe with scene, opposite.
Okay, now I can see it. Meaning, why, how, what? Can you have a look at these words again? Okay, I'll repeat them. Call up, look up, get through. Yes, on the phone. Thank you very much. This is phone conversation. This is why one of you said word families and all that. Absolutely. You associate them, they have to do with making calls, with communicating on the phone. You call up a number, okay? You look up somebody's number. You get through to the person you want to talk to, or if the connection is no good, you don't get through. If you want to ask somebody to wait so you can connect them with somebody, you say, hold on. And when you're done with your call, what do? You hang up. Okay, so this way of dealing with things is a lot better and a lot more memorable and a lot more useful than getting people to memorize words like that. For example, put down, put across, put up, put through, put off. Do they have a lot in common? I don't think so. And what about this? Come up, get up, put up, sit up, end up. Completely different meaning, okay? So you can't really associate them with anything. Not a very good idea, okay? And vocabulary presentation, some basic steps, but these stages are jumbled, okay? Do you think you could put them in order very quickly? Forget I said very quickly, it's a bad habit. You shouldn't say very quickly, everybody gets stressed. Any ideas about which one is first? Okay. Any other ideas? F. Okay. Establish the context. Find out what students already know about the topic of the lesson. Yes, I would go for that. Okay. Then check understanding through concept questions or by relisting the word in response to a mime or visual cues. So we would have to go for C then, right? So we would have to go for establish context. Okay. You want to put the model of the word. All right. Illustrate the meaning. Okay. Check understanding. This happens throughout. It's not just one stage. Try to list the word or expression. Sorry, this comes immediately after the context, after F. So we go F, B. Some of you put this one first and then that, or that one first and then that. Okay. Check understanding. Okay. And set up a practice activity, roughly speaking. Okay, somebody's got a class. I believe we'll have to stop now.
Yes, I'm afraid.
Yes. Okay, we'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Denai. Thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation. That was indeed very useful.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for being such an engaging, fantastic audience. You have been wonderful. Thank you for all your comments and engaging with the presenter. You're free to leave if you need to. That's fine. We will now cover Q&A. So if you want to stay back, feel free to stay back, and we will just cover the Q&A for now. See the numbers going down on the screen because I know you have things to get to, so we can keep this short. There are 5 sessions for secondary teachers. We have covered session 1 and 2 today at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. We have 3 and 4 sessions tomorrow at the same time. Just make sure you register for these sessions in order to attend them. You will have to register. The same link is not going to work, the one that you used for the webinar today. So for the 5 sessions, you will receive 5 confirmation emails in your inbox and use the link to join the session. Every link is unique, so please use the link that you receive. You can also use the reminder email, so you receive this at the day of the webinar, by the way. Okay, I will move to the Q&A. Is it possible to receive the handouts in the email? I'm afraid not. We don't have your email addresses. So you will have to take it from the link that we share. Just download them and you can have them. I can drop in them both for you again, session 1 and session 2, so you have it. Thank you, Sarish, for helping everyone. You're very welcome. Understood, and thank you for your clarification. Okay, moving on to the Q&A. You don't need to mark yourself present. You are already marked present automatically in the webinar. All right. Okay, I have lots of questions. Obviously, we won't be able to cover all of them, but the first one I have is it important to teach grammar in our curriculum? Very nice, common question, Danai.
Is it important to teach grammar in your curriculum? You tell me. Everybody is talking about grammar all the time, and please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we shouldn't deal with it, but what I'm saying is we should deal with it in a way that is meaningful, that in context, that's right, so we can do more than just one thing, so we can help people see how language is used, in what situations, so they can use it themselves in a normal kind of way connected to life. Yes. It is a system of the language. We can't take it out. When can you use a native language? You mean Arabic? I am very tempted to say never. No, it never wouldn't be right. But only if it's absolutely necessary. Only when you have no other option. Hello?
Oh, sorry, I muted myself. Students believe English is difficult, so they don't try to do any effort to learn. How can we solve this problem?
Do you know if your students play games on the internet? Do they have access to the internet? Do they watch YouTube, for example? Hello?
Something that you can keep them engaged with, right?
Something to engage them with. Sometimes they don't do anything because they're not interested. Again, I would like to stress the point that we discussed earlier about focusing on your learners, getting to know your learners. It's important, so that can help you interpret quite a few things. Yes, thank you. I know they play lots of games.
And the next one I have is...
It's an interactive website, okay?
What kind of method should I use to teach grammar?
Oh, please. This is what we've been discussing. There is not one single method. What we're doing is we're trying to teach grammar in context and help learners learn it in that way, okay, through discovery. So this is what people talk about, through discovery, getting students, learners to notice things in use, in context, think about the meaning, how they're being used. They very often help them work out the rules themselves, and then practice a bit more controlled in the beginning and until they're ready to sort of take off and use it without control. Yes?
Yep.
Yes, there are many ways to teach grammar. I agree.
All right. And then really quickly, what method is better to the learner? Listen, let them talk, or listen?
They can't really talk without listening, can they? We need both. Listening is very, very important, and so is reading, and so is talking, so is writing. You can't have one without the other. Yes, they have to listen, then speak. If you were talking about modeling, about exposing them to the language, well, this is what exposure does. And the 4 skills are integrated in each lesson. And this is exactly the point of trying to do the tasks the way they are, and not changing everything to a grammar translation lesson and then saying you haven't got the time to do them. Yes, of course you don't. It's impossible. I know change is difficult, but we really, all we can do is that. I mean, talk about and think about helping people learn more effectively in a more, if you like, whole way, whole language. This is what we're talking about.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
We need some advice to help weak students.
We'll be doing more on that when we discuss things tomorrow and in the last session. Sorry. But basically, it has a lot to do with collaborative learning, given the time you have and everything. We try to work in an inclusive way. In other words, we address everybody, not just the students who are more confident, not just the 2 or 3 people who monopolize, because if you're not doing collaborative work, if you don't work in pairs or groups, then obviously what you're doing is teacher-student talk only, and that will put what you see as weak students on the spot. So we try and do things in a more interactive way. We try to get people to help each other while they're learning. But you can't do that, again, if it's teacher-student, if it's more traditional, because then the students get extremely competitive, and instead of helping each other, they do the exact opposite. Yeah? Gave them everything 1 hour in the evening. That's great. If you gave them an hour in the evening on Teams, that's super. Of course, that's wonderful. That's the best. But if you have the time to do it and the willingness to do it, yes, fine, I agree.
Mm-hmm. And the last one is actually a follow-up question, is would you recommend which of the 4 skills should I concentrate with weak students? Listening, reading, writing, speaking, I mean, till those students improve.
All of them in smaller pieces. All of them. It depends also on what your priorities are. Look, when we're dealing with students, for example, in an academic context, we train them to listen and understand, for example, lectures, discussions, panel discussions that are quite demanding, because people can understand language that they don't necessarily produce. But again, that's connected with background, with the subject, with the topic, and so on. So it depends on what you want to do. I think receptive skills are very important. Understanding through receptive skills, not analyzing texts, okay? Because they give you the model, they give you the idea of how you can speak and how you can write. So basically, I would go for a balance. Starting, with receptive skills. Absolutely. Listening must be first.
Thank you so much, Danai. And I'm afraid we only have so much time. We won't be able to cover everything. Although we have overrun by 30 minutes, thank you so much for being with us. But I'm afraid we'll have to end the session now. And conscious, you guys also have to get back to your routines. So thank you so much for joining us today. And unless there is any questions for me on the housekeeping or registration, then we can end.
I just would like to say thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the activities, for all the questions, for all the comments, for your wonderful comments. Thank you for all your thanks. This has been great. Thank you for being wonderful.
Yes, just to echo what Danai said, thank you so much. You guys have been wonderful, and thank you for all the lovely feedback that you have given us in the chat box. Thank you. You're most welcome.